Guys, I have been decaling LEGO Clone Troopers for a few months now and I absolutely love it. However, there are a few negatives to decaling that absolutely drive me crazy. And that is the thing that I'm going to be going over in today's video. Obviously, most people talk about the upsides of decaling, like making awesome clones and that sort of thing, but there are a ton of negatives as well that I think just need to be covered and need to go over. So that's what I'll be doing in today's video. Before we get into it, guys, if you want to leave a like on the video down below and also subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let me know in the comments what is your least favorite thing about decaling if you've done it. If you're about to get into decaling though, guys, don't let this discourage you. There are a ton of really awesome things about decaling. These are just some of the things that absolutely drive me crazy. The first thing we're going to talk about is all the chemicals that are associated with decaling. So first off, you have the microset and microsol. I've only really used microset, so I can only talk about that. But microsol is probably the same, as well as the sealant as well at the end. All of these chemicals can really affect you. I've had nights where I've gone to bed feeling sick with a massive headache because of these chemicals. So you've got to be really careful when you do these in a very well ventilated area. I don't know if you guys have also experienced this, but I find this stuff can really affect your head. So be really careful when you're using this. It's the same when you seal the figures. You've got to do it outside or in a well ventilated area. I usually wear a mask and gloves because it's just a horrible process. If you get any of it on your hands, they will stink for weeks. I've also found that this affects my skin and my fingers literally like peel. I mean, you might have seen it in some videos where my fingers are really like peeling. That is because of this stuff and it is really horrible. So that's my first thing that I absolutely hate about decaling. Now, if you've ever decaled, you know all about this one. This is when you have to carve the hips. Now, this is the worst process imaginable. If you're using one of these to carve your hips still, it is so frustrating. You sit there for about 20 minutes just scraping at the hips and you just end up cutting yourself. I found myself just flicking off and cutting my hands and that sort of thing, and it is really annoying. However, this does get better if you use an electric nail file. I'll show a picture on the screen of the one I'm using right now. It does cut down the time by about 10 and it is much easier. However, this sprays up dust everywhere and that can be quite annoying as well, but genuinely carving hips is one of my least favorite parts of decaling for sure. This next one is probably something that everyone has encountered as well, and this is when decals fold. Now, this is the most annoying thing in the world. So you got your decal out of the water. It's usually your fault if you leave it too long in the water. However, this can just happen to any time at all. Especially I find it with Jonak decals. This just happens all the time sometimes. And this is just when the decal sticks to itself and just folds and you can never get it apart, and it's just ruined that complete whole decal sheet. And this can be really annoying. I found the best way to combat this is just buy an extra set of decals. It might cost you an extra couple of dollars, but it is definitely worth it in the long run. I never understood this one until I got into decaling, but this is when people call them stickers. Now, I didn't really understand why this was annoying. I heard people complaining about it in the past, but this is very annoying because they're not stickers and it's a completely different thing to stickers. So this is just something that really annoys me about decaling. But this one's very specific to me, but I had a load of figures drying on a rack and my mum came along and knocked them on the floor and the entire set of figures were completely destroyed. Like, look at this trauma right here, guys. This guy has only one arm and one leg because the other parts were completely destroyed, which is very annoying, but I guess that one's very specific to me. You do have to be gentle with figures, which is something that really does annoy me, especially before they are dried or anything like that. You just got to be super careful. So make sure your mum doesn't just go destroy loads of figures. So this one is specific to a very few amount of figures, but this is when you have to cut out the capes. Now, I find it really hard. I don't know why to cut out capes. I just find it really annoying. It's a bit harder to cut out than normal decal sheets are. Just cutting out decal sheets is something that's not very fun, but when it's actually on a cloth material, it is even harder to cut them out, and it just drives me up the wall having to cut those circles out and stuff like that. I know you can use hole punches, but I honestly just haven't got around to buying one yet, which I definitely should do. So many times I've messed up and cut across a piece that I shouldn't and completely ruined the cloth, but that is something that really does annoy me. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is when the decals flake on the legs and when you have sort of like a little bit flaking off the side. Now, this is so frustrating when you spend hours and hours on a figure. You get it perfectly lined up and everything, you seal it, and then you go to put it back together and it just kind of like flakes off a little bit. I don't know whether I'm doing something wrong, so let me know in the comments if I'm doing something wrong here, but sometimes when I'm putting it back together and I touch it and it just sticks to my finger and comes back off again, even if it's really well sealed, it just doesn't make sense to me, but it drives me up the wall. It is so frustrating when this happens. I don't know about you guys, but those of you who decal will probably understand this, but I genuinely have more makeup sponges than my girlfriend does and more nail files and that sort of thing. It is ridiculous. I end up buying so many like nail beauty products and stuff just for decaling, and this is a bit annoying, and this is definitely something that people would judge you if they look at your Amazon account and they see all these makeup sponges and stuff. They think you are going down a different path, but yeah, it's genuinely annoying when you're buying all of these different makeup sponges and that sort of thing. Next up is the sealing process in general. Now, I find it really tricky sometimes to seal your figures, and it really can be annoying. If you underseal, the decals are likely to flake off. If you overseal, you can easily ruin the whole figure and have loads of built up gunk on the figure and stuff, and this is so frustrating. Even now I still do it. I kind of go in phases of oversealing, then undersealing, oversealing, something, and I find a nice happy place in the middle, but it is genuinely really hard to get that technique down, because sometimes you'll do the exact same thing with the spray and it will differ on every figure, and it's so hard to get sort of like a standard measurement for sealing. And also you have to go outside and you have to wear a mask, and it's just not a fun process in general, and if you breathe in those fumes it can really be horrible, and if you get it on your skin it will be sticky for ages, so you just got to be really careful with the sealing process. This last one is something that maybe I'm just doing wrong and I haven't really done for a while, but this is something I did loads at the start, and this is when you get a decal perfectly and it's lined up and then you sponge it and it just completely messes up. This is the most annoying thing, and you have misaligned decals and you just end up looking at it at the end and you're like, how did I end up doing that? How did I line this up so badly? I did a kicks on a live stream a long time ago, one of my first decals I did on a live stream.
No, 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 no.
It is completely wonky, the head is completely off. So this is something that really annoys me, when you just slightly get it misaligned and it just looks awful and ruins the whole fig. The other thing I've got to mention is when you're trying to line up decals. So if you have a wraparound print, so say it wraps from the back of the leg to the side of the leg to the front of the leg, and you don't quite line it up or you cut it out incorrectly, this is so frustrating, because you see just a little tiny gap, especially on the more colorful figures. You just see a little tiny white line between the two decal sheets, and it is so frustrating when you have a perfectly done decal but then you have a tiny little white line. It can ruin an entire figure. But that is my list for the most annoying things about decaling. Let me know if I missed anything in the comment section down below. Let me know what your least favorite thing about decaling is. Let me know if you want to see me do other videos like this, so things I hate about a certain topic. I definitely don't like being too negative about things, but I definitely like to share my opinions and stuff. I have got a video plan where I talk about the things I hate about custom clone troopers, so if you want to see that, leave a like on today's video. If we can hit 85 likes, I will make that video for you guys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.